I'm literally counting down the hours so that I can take off the wrapping on my carbon DIY repair job. Now at the moment we're at about 21 hours. I really don't think I'm gonna make 24 hours because I want to see what's going on beneath all that tape, and I'm pretty sure you guys want to see that as well. Maybe we should just open it. Alright, so I can't take it anymore. I can't wait anymore. I think I've waited about 22 hours if I worked out my time correctly. So I'm going to start unwrapping this just now, and I want to see how the carbon looks underneath. But what I've started to do so long is I started sanding down the rear triangle. Now what I've done is, because I'm not going to say I'm lazy, but I'm not the most patient of guys, I took a P100, which is way too much, but I then just broke the clear lacquer on the bike, so it's a very, very light sanding, just real quick. And then I took a scuff pad. I'm pretty sure this is what they call this. It's a scuff pad. It comes on one of those small mouth sanders, or yeah, something like that, mouth sanders. And then I worked my way through the rear triangle as far as I could. Now it is quite nice. I see most of the clear lacquer is off. The sanding is quite smooth. I don't want any deep grooves on here. But that's what I did. I took a P100, started working it. It does leave a few deep scratches, so be super careful with that. They say usually you take a 400 wet sanding, 400, 600, and then 800, to remove all the paint from the frame if you want to do a perfect pristine paint job. Now I want to make this last very long. But what I've decided to do is I'm going to do a very good paint job. I'm going to do it as good as I can. And then what I'll do is I'll take some of this protective film and then I'll stick it everywhere, especially on the down tube of the frame and maybe inside the rear triangle where the wheel will run. And just to protect the paint from any scratches or chip marks. Because I'm pretty sure that if you do a rattle can paint job, it will never be as good as one of those professional spray paint booth spray job. So that's what I started to do. I started setting this down, and I'm going to start taking off the insulation tape and all the wrapping on that, and I really, really do hope it looks good underneath. So let's do that. It's absolute chaos on the floor. All the wrapping that came off. It's not perfect. I promise you guys it's not perfect. But for someone doing this the very first time with no experience, I know what I could have done better to make it a little bit better looking. But I think for the first time, the way it came out with so little to almost no bulging hardness and whatever, I think it looks I won't say it's super good, but I'm excited. Check this out. So the carbon didn't come out super clean, and the weaves, you can see this here and there that the carbon unfortunately folded a little bit, and but that was while I was putting on the focus on that. That was while I was putting on the insulation tape and so on, and I could see while I was turning it, one of these little parts actually folded a little bit, and it made a little bulge right there. But guys, but remember that this all will be sanded away, and then it will look so much better. Now the bottom part's not that great, and this is also a part that didn't come out too good, but that's where all the weaves come together from the 2 or 3 sheets that I used. So the top looks quite good. You'll see it went a bit over the bearing there, but that's fine. I can just sand it till I see the bearing perfectly. I'm going to remove those bearings after paint anyway, to make sure that I don't paint inside there. And I'll sand it away anyway, most of the paint, because I don't want any extra thickness on the sides or on the bushings where there's not any thickness to be played with, if I can say it like that, because you need to be exact when it comes to your widths of these things so that the rear triangle will fit. But I am super glad and I must say I'm quite satisfied with how this turned out. Now what I will do is I'm going to take the sanding paper that I've got. I'm going to see if I'm just going to sand one part down right here to see how it looks. This is actually where the crack was, right about there. So I'm going to sand it down just a little bit to see how this carbon looks. I'll put on a mask and gloves for this part, just because I think this carbon, if it gets into your lungs or your hands or something, it can be a bit uncomfortable. So let's sand this part down a little bit, and I hope it turns out quite good. Alright, so now basically it's sanding, and a little bit more sanding. I've been sanding now for almost 2 hours. I've been sanding on the rear triangle that we've got here. As you guys can see, I've got all the decals off. That scuff pad really works very, very well. Unfortunately, just on the parts where you've got a lot of clear lacquer, like this side, you need to break it first. And when I talk about break it, I take like a P100 grit sanding paper like I showed you guys, just to get through that first layer, and then the scuff pad works very, very well. I've been sanding on the carbon repair, and it's coming out really good. It's not perfect, but like I said, this is not my work, it's not my line of work, but I enjoy doing things like this. As you guys can see there, we are still keeping quite a good line all the way through. I'm very, very happy that I put some extra layers on the back side of this little pivot here as well. You guys can see that it's already starting to look quite smooth, but this has taken me almost 2 hours literally to sand this part. Now there's still a few grooves here and there, you guys can see, and then when you move around, this is a part that I haven't sanded yet or started sanding yet. So there's so much work when you get to this, and if you are like me, you'd want to do a pretty good job, because obviously this is something you want to show off. It's not something that you just repair to see if you can repair it. So there's nothing really I can show you guys extra on this, so I'm going to continue sanding. I want to show you guys the frame. We've got decals there, we've got decals all the way through on the top tube. I'm not sure you guys will see this, but this is actually gloss, and then the name Silverback is in a matte finish. Now I'm going to sand all of this off the frame, and we're going to do our own little design there. Like I said, it's not going to be pro, but I think it's going to look super cool. I've already decided on a color. I thought of doing many different colors and so on, but I'm thinking maybe a shocking one color bike will be a lot easier for my talents that I've got. Like I said, I'm not a professional, and the nice thing about this color, you can always add it up. You can add grips, you can. The one thing I want to do is I want to have a bike that I can maybe put on a gold group set one day, or all black group set, and everything will look good with the frame color. So I'm going to still ask you guys, you must have to decide colors on this bike. What color do you think will look super cool in a custom bold spray repair frame? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue sanding this thing. Like I said, there's not a lot that I can show you guys, but when I'm at the point where I've sanded everything down and we're starting to lay down some primer and the colors of the bike, then we'll take it from there. So we might not see this series continue for a little bit, because like I said, sanding down between work, it takes a long time, and I do have other work to do as well. So what I'll do is I'll sand it down, and then as soon as we've got the primer and all those things ready, we'll jump right back into the series and we'll continue with this. But I want to encourage you guys to subscribe, hit the bell notification, share this with all your friends. The channel is growing amazingly, and I want to thank all you guys for the support. So guys, be strong, stay safe, and like I always say, never say never. Cheers.